Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Ocean channel. Tonight, we are letting go of the shore and drifting into the quiet, deep currents of the world to explore one of its most ancient and ethereal inhabitants. We are venturing into the world of the jellyfish. These creatures are not really fish, but they are the living, breathing, and pulsing embodiment of the sea itself. They are beings of water and time, drifting through the dark with a silent, hypnotic grace. They have no mind to think, no heart to beat, and no bones to break. They are a living paradox, both impossibly fragile and unbelievably resilient, having survived in the oceans for hundreds of millions of years. Their story is one of alien biology, of silent hunts, of ghostly light, and even of a strange biological immortality. They are the quiet wanderers of the deep. So, I invite you to find a comfortable place, to let your breathing slow, and to allow your mind to float gently into the current. There is nothing else you need to do. Just relax, and let's begin our journey. We begin with a simple truth. A jellyfish is not a fish at all. The name is a gentle deception, a term coined by people long ago who saw these gelatinous shapes pulsing through the water and grouped them with the other creatures of the sea. But a fish has a backbone, a brain, and a circulatory system. A jellyfish has none of these things. It is something far simpler and perhaps far more ancient. It does not swim against the current to forge its own path. Instead, it is a traveler, a member of the zooplankton, a word which means animal drifter. It is a passenger of the ocean's great, slow rivers, a quiet, gelatinous ghost surrendered to the whims of the tide. To understand the jellyfish, we must first understand the phylum to which it belongs, Cnidaria. This is a vast family of animals, all connected by one defining microscopic weapon. The name itself comes from the Greek word knidos, which means stinging nettle. This group includes the sea anemones, rooted to the rock like fleshy flowers, and the corals, the tiny colonial architects of the ocean's greatest cities. The jellyfish is their free-drifting cousin. All cnidarians share this stinging ability, a key that unlocked their survival millions of years ago, allowing these simple, soft-bodied creatures to become some of the ocean's most effective and patient predators. The lineage of the jellyfish is almost impossibly old, stretching back into a time so deep it is difficult to comprehend. Scientists, studying the faint impressions left in ancient stone, believe that jellyfish have been pulsing through the oceans for at least 500 million years, and possibly even longer, with some estimates reaching 700 million years. This means they are older than the first trees that grew on land. They are older than the dinosaurs by hundreds of millions of years. They are even older than the first true fish. They have survived all 5 great mass extinctions, drifting silently through oceans that no longer exist, a testament to the profound success of their simple design. Jellyfish are masters of the art of gelatinous zooplankton. This gentle scientific term beautifully captures their essence. Zooplankton identifies them as animals, zoo, that drift, plankton, unable to swim against the ocean's major currents. The gelatinous part describes their body, a form built from jelly-like tissue rather than hard muscle and bone. This planktonic life is not one of weakness, but of efficiency. They do not waste energy fighting the sea. They use the sea's own energy to travel the globe, to find food and to meet. They are a part of the water's motion, a living expression of the current itself. The simplicity of a jellyfish is its greatest strength. In a world of complex brains, powerful hearts, and strong bones, the jellyfish thrives with almost none of it. Their design is elemental, stripped down to the barest essentials of life. They are, in essence, a floating stomach, lined with a simple nervous system and fringed with stinging tentacles. This simplicity means they require very little oxygen, allowing them to thrive in parts of the ocean that other, more complex animals cannot. They are a reminder that evolution does not always favor complexity. Sometimes, the most enduring forms of life are the simplest. These drifters are found in every ocean on Earth, a quiet testament to their incredible adaptability. They pulse through the warm, turquoise waters of tropical lagoons. They drift through the cold, nutrient-rich currents of the North Atlantic. They have been found near the sunlit surface, shimmering in the daylight, and they have been filmed in the crushing, permanent darkness of the deep abyss, miles below the waves. They even exist in some freshwater lakes, tiny, translucent bells pulsing in the stillness. There is almost no body of salt water on the planet that is not, at some point, touched by their silent presence. Proving the ancient age of a jellyfish is a profound challenge for science, because ghosts do not leave fossils, or at least not easily. A creature with no bones, no shells, and no teeth rarely leaves a mark on the geological record. For a jellyfish to become a fossil, it must die in a place of perfect stillness, where the water is free of oxygen and scavengers, and be buried instantly by fine, soft sediment. Only then can its delicate, watery body leave a faint impression, a memory in stone, before it dissolves. These rare, precious fossils are like photographs of a whisper, telling us that these simple shapes have been here, unchanged, for an eternity. The name jellyfish is a perfect piece of folk poetry. The jelly part is obvious, a description of the translucent quivering substance that makes up its body, known to scientists as mesoglea. The fish part is the human attempt to categorize it, to place this strange alien-like creature into a box we understand. It came
from the sea, so it must be a fish. While scientifically incorrect, the name sticks because it feels right. It captures the two things we see: the otherworldly, gelatinous form, and the watery home from which it emerges, a true jelly from the sea. While we think of them as solitary drifters, jellyfish can gather in vast, astonishing congregations known as blooms or smacks. These blooms can consist of millions, even billions, of individuals, stretching for miles across the ocean. The water itself can seem to turn thick, a pulsating, gelatinous soup. These events are not a coordinated meeting, but a result of perfect conditions: a spike in water temperature, a sudden abundance of food, or a shift in currents that pushes them all together. A bloom is a sign that the ocean's delicate balance has tipped, and for a moment, these ancient drifters have become the masters of the sea. The body of a jellyfish is barely more than organized water. Most jellyfish are composed of 95% to 98% water, making them one of the most aquatic animals on Earth. Their form is a living sculpture of seawater, held together by a fragile matrix of proteins. If you were to take a jellyfish out of the ocean, it would collapse, its structure lost without the water to support it. It would dry into a small, crisp film, a faint, salty memory of the creature it was. They are, in the most literal sense, a teardrop of the ocean that has been given a simple, drifting life. The jelly in a jellyfish is a substance called mesoglea. This is the thick, translucent layer of non-living, gelatinous material that is sandwiched between the jellyfish's two thin layers of living skin. The mesoglea is the chassis of the jellyfish. It provides its structure, its shape, and its buoyancy, allowing it to float effortlessly. It is a brilliant piece of biological engineering, a way to become large in size without the high metabolic cost of building and maintaining living muscle or bone. It is an enormous, watery skeleton that holds everything together. The body plan of a jellyfish is a study in elegant minimalism. It is made of just 3 fundamental layers. There is the epidermis, the outer skin that faces the ocean. There is the gastrodermis, the inner skin that lines its simple stomach, or gastrovascular cavity, and in the middle, there is the vast, non-living cushion of the mesoglia. That is all. From these 3 simple layers, the creature builds its tentacles, its mouth, and its simple sensory organs. It is a blueprint for life at its most essential. A jellyfish lives its life without a single, centralized brain. There is no central command, no place of consciousness, no seat of thought or memory. This absence of a brain is what gives the jellyfish its hypnotic, relaxing quality. It lives in a state of pure, uncomplicated being. It does not worry about the past or plan for the future. It does not feel fear or anxiety or desire. It simply is. Its existence is a flow of automatic responses to the world around it. Light, touch, chemistry. It is a life lived entirely in the present moment. Instead of a brain, the jellyfish operates using a nerve net. This is a diffuse web-like system of nerve cells spread throughout its epidermis, like a living electrical grid. When a jellyfish touches something, the signal doesn't travel to a central processor. Instead, the nerve net relays the message across the body, from cell to cell, like a ripple spreading on a pond. This simple system is all it needs to coordinate the rhythmic pulsing of its bell, the retraction of its tentacles, and the movement of its mouth. It is a decentralized intelligence, where the body is the brain. In some jellyfish, this nervous system shows a surprising layer of complexity. Scientists have discovered that some species possess not 1, but 2 distinct nerve nets. There is a large nerve net that controls the big, rhythmic pulses of the bell, the part that is responsible for swimming. And then there is a small nerve net, a finer, more delicate system that controls more localized behaviors, like feeding, the movement of the mouth, and the fine-tuning of its tentacles. This is a beautiful example of emergent complexity, a simple creature evolving 2 separate gears for moving and for living. A jellyfish also has no heart and no blood. It does not need a complex circulatory system to pump nutrients and oxygen around its body. Its walls are so thin, the epidermis and gastrodermis are often just a few cells thick, that it gets everything it needs directly from the water. Oxygen diffuses from the seawater, passing right through its outer skin and into its cells. Nutrients from its food are absorbed by its inner skin, and because its body is so watery and simple, those nutrients can diffuse easily to any part that needs them. Its own environment, the ocean, acts as its blood and its lungs. The anatomy of a jellyfish is built around a single, elegant opening. This portal serves as both its mouth and its anus. It leads to a simple, bag-like stomach called the gastrovascular cavity, which translates to stomach vessel. Food is brought into this cavity by frilly, ribbon-like extensions called oral arms. Once inside, digestive enzymes break down the prey. The nutrients are absorbed, and any indigestible waste is simply expelled back out through the very same opening. It is a system of perfect, simple efficiency, with no unnecessary parts. The iconic dome-like shape of a jellyfish is known as the bell, or the medusa. This bell is the creature's engine. It is a hollow muscle lined with a strong, elastic layer of fibers. When the jellyfish contracts these fibers, it squeezes the water out from under the bell, propelling itself forward in a gentle, rhythmic pulse. The bell's shape is often what helps us identify the species. It can be a wide, flat disc, like a dinner plate, a tall, narrow bell, like a thimble, or a perfect, translucent sphere, like a glass ornament. Jellyfish exhibit a body plan
known as radial symmetry. This means their bodies are arranged around a central point, like the spokes of a wheel or the petals of a flower. They have no left or right side, no front or back. This design is perfectly suited for a creature that drifts. No matter which way the current turns it, or which direction prey approaches from, it is always facing the right way. It experiences the world equally from all directions at once, a 360-degree sensory sphere floating through the water. While they appear impossibly fragile, jellyfish are, in their own way, incredibly tough. Their sheer, gelatinous bodies seem like they would be torn apart by the slightest disturbance. But their strength is in their softness. They are all flexibility and yielding. When a powerful wave or a strong current hits them, they do not resist it. They bend and yield, deforming and absorbing the energy, only to spring back to their original shape, unharmed. They are a living lesson in the resilience of softness, having mastered the art of surviving the ocean's power, not by fighting it, but by becoming one with it. The gentle, pulsing movement of a jellyfish is a marvel of biological efficiency. When the jellyfish contracts the muscles lining its bell, it forcefully ejects a jet of water, pushing itself in the opposite direction. But the true genius is in the recovery. As the bell relaxes, it doesn't just passively refill. The elastic, jelly-like mesoglia springs back to its open shape, creating a starting vortex ring of water. This spinning ring of water then pushes against the bell as it begins its next pulse, giving the jellyfish a second, free boost. This two-part motion makes the jellyfish one of the most energy-efficient swimmers on the entire planet. This unique swimming style, which creates and reuses vortex rings, is a silent ballet of fluid dynamics. Other animals, like squid, use jet propulsion in a single, powerful burst. The jellyfish, however, uses a slower, more deliberate pulse that creates a spinning ring of water, like a smoke ring, at the edge of its bell. This ring acts like a solid wall for the next pulse to push off of. It's the difference between trying to swim in open water versus pushing off the side of a pool. The jellyfish, in its silent wisdom, effectively brings the wall with it, a trick of physics that allows it to travel with minimal effort. Despite their ability to swim, jellyfish are still at the mercy of the great ocean currents. Their pulsing is often more for orientation, moving up or down in the water column, than for long-distance travel. The great journeys of their lives are not acts of will, but of surrender. They are carried for thousands of miles on the massive, slow-moving rivers of the ocean, like the Gulf Stream. This is how they spread across the globe, as a single, drifting population, a shared genetic ocean carried on the water's flow. Jellyfish have a simple, yet ingenious way of knowing which way is down. They do not need a complex inner ear. They have tiny specialized balance organs called statocysts, which are located in small sensory hubs, ropalia, around the rim of their bell. Each statocyst is a tiny fluid-filled sac lined with sensitive, hair-like cells. Inside this sac sits a single dense crystal called a statolith, which is often made of calcium carbonate. It is, in essence, a living compass needle. The function of the statocyst is beautifully simple. As the jellyfish drifts, gravity constantly pulls the heavy crystal, or statolith, downward. This crystal comes to rest on the sensory hairs at the bottom of the sac, sending a constant, quiet signal to the nerve net. This way is down. If a wave tumbles the jellyfish upside down, the crystal rolls and presses against the hairs on the top of the sac. This new signal alerts the nerve net that the jellyfish is disoriented, and it automatically triggers the bell to pulse and reorient itself. A perfect, mindless writing reflex. While they do not have eyes that can see images, many jellyfish are not blind. Around the rim of their bell, often near the statocysts, they possess simple eye spots called ocelli. These are not lensed eyes. but simple clusters of light-sensitive cells, much like the eye spot on a single-celled euglena. They cannot see shapes or colors or predators, but they can detect the simple, vital difference between light and dark. This ability is crucial for their daily migration, guiding them to follow their planktonic food up to the surface at dusk and to sink back into the safety of the dark depths at dawn. These sensory organs, the statocysts for balance and the ocelli for light, are not scattered randomly. They are clustered together into specialized, club-like structures called rhopalia. These are the sensory hubs of the jellyfish, located in small notches around the bell's margin. A typical moon jelly might have 8 of them. These rhopalia are the closest thing a jellyfish has to a command center. They gather all the essential information from the environment, balance and light, and feed it directly into the nerve net, allowing the jellyfish to respond to its world in a coordinated, rhythmic, and perfectly simple way. The entire outer layer of a jellyfish is a sensory organ. It is covered in cells that can taste the water around it. This chemical sense is vital for its survival. The jellyfish may not be able to see a tiny fish swimming nearby, but its nerve net can detect the chemical traces, the faint, dissolved signature of its prey in the water. This chemical cue can cause the jellyfish to change its swimming behavior, to spread its tentacles wide, or to become more alert, increasing the chances of a chance encounter. It is a creature that senses its world as a flow of dissolved information. The nerve net also acts as a massive decentralized touch sensor. Every cell on its outer surface is part of this system. This is what makes its hunting mechanism so lethally efficient. The jellyfish does not need to decide to sting. The trigger is not in a brain, but in the stinging cells themselves. The faint brush of a tiny crustacean, the chemical signal of prey, and the physical contact all happen at once. The nerve net senses the contact, and the stinging cells, or nematocysts, automatically fire. It is an instantaneous, deadly reflex, woven into the very fabric of its skin. Jellyfish live in a world of profound silence. They have no organs for hearing, no way to process sound vibrations in the water. The crashing of waves, the song of a whale, the click of a dolphin's echolocation, all of this passes through them, unnoticed. Their reality is built from 3 simple senses: the feel of gravity, statocysts, the presence of light, ocelli, and the taste and touch of the water itself, the nerve net. It is a muted, gentle existence, a life lived in a silent, sensory dream, guided only by the pull of the earth and the light of the sun. The most defining characteristic of the jellyfish, and all cnidarians, is its microscopic, venomous weapon, the nematocyst. This is not a simple stinger, but a complex, single-use cellular harpoon. Millions of these cells cover the jellyfish's tentacles, and in some species, even their bell and oral arms. Each nematocyst is an intricate capsule, a high-tech weapon evolved from a single cell. It is a marvel of biological engineering, and it is the key to the jellyfish's long, successful reign as a silent hunter. Inside each nematocyst capsule is a coiled, hollow, and often barbed thread, all held under incredible osmotic pressure. Think of it as a tiny pressurized canister containing a spring-loaded, venomous spear. The cell is held in this ready state for days or weeks, waiting for the precise trigger. It is a biological landmine, a single, perfect mechanism of attack, patiently waiting for a signal. The sheer potential energy stored inside this microscopic cell is immense. Each nematocyst has its own trigger, a tiny, hair-like projection called a cnidocyle. This trigger acts as both a chemical and physical sensor. It is primed to respond to the specific chemical cues of prey, which prevents the jellyfish from stinging itself or random bits of seaweed. When a small fish or crustacean brushes against this trigger, the combination of the right chemical signature and the right physical touch provides the key. This unlocks a tiny trapdoor on the cell, called the operculum, and unleashes the high-pressure system within. The firing of a nematocyst is one of the fastest movements in the entire animal kingdom. The moment the trigger is activated, the internal pressure of the cell explodes, everting the coiled, barbed thread like the finger of a glove turning inside out. The entire event, from trigger to full extension, can happen in as little as 700 nanoseconds. The acceleration of this tiny harpoon has been calculated at over 5 million times the force of gravity. It is a biological explosion, a microscopic bullet that pierces the shell or skin of its prey before the victim's nerves can even register the touch. The moment the barbed thread punctures the prey, the venom is injected. This venom is not a simple poison, but a complex cocktail of toxins tailored to the jellyfish's diet. It often contains neurotoxins to paralyze the prey, stopping it from struggling and damaging the jellyfish's delicate tentacles. It can also contain enzymes that begin to break down the prey's tissues, starting the process of digestion before the food even reaches the jellyfish's mouth. The sting is both a capture and a pre-digestive tool. A nematocyst is a single-use weapon. Once it has fired, it is absorbed by the jellyfish's body, and a new one must be grown to take its place. The tentacles of a jellyfish are in a constant slow state of rearming, with new stinging cells migrating into place to replace the ones that have been discharged. This is why a jellyfish that has washed ashore can still be dangerous. Even detached from the body, its tentacles may hold thousands of unfired, pressurized nematocysts, each one still waiting, mindlessly, for the trigger of a passing touch. The toxins in jellyfish venom are a subject of intense medical research, as they are some of the most complex and potent in the world. The venom of the box jellyfish, for example, is a devastating mix of cardiotoxins that attack the heart, neurotoxins that attack the nervous system, and hemolysins that rupture blood cells. Scientists study these toxins to understand how they work, which not only helps in developing antivenoms, but also provides insights into how our own nervous and cardiovascular systems function at a cellular level. Once a prey item is paralyzed and trapped by the stinging tentacles, it must be brought to the mouth. This is the job of the oral arms. These are not the long, thin tentacles at the edge of the bell, but the frilly, curtain-like or ribbon-like structures that hang down from the very center of the jellyfish, surrounding the mouth. The tentacles contract, lifting the prey and handing it off to these oral arms, which then slowly guide the food into the gastrovascular cavity to be digested. The diet of a jellyfish is as simple and passive as its lifestyle. They are carnivores, but they do not actively hunt. Instead, they are suspension feeders, or passive hunters. They drift through the water, often with their tentacles spread wide like a living net, and simply wait for food to find them. Their diet consists of whatever is small and abundant enough to be caught, including fish eggs, tiny crustaceans like copepods, small fish and larvae, and even other, smaller jellyfish. They are a living, drifting minefield for the ocean's smallest creatures. Digestion inside the jellyfish is a simple, straightforward process. The food, held in the bag-like gastrovascular cavity, is slowly broken down by powerful digestive enzymes secreted by the gastrodermis. Because the cavity is a single, large space, the food is swirled around by the jellyfish's own pulsing movements, ensuring it is mixed thoroughly with the enzymes. The nutrients are then absorbed directly by the cells of the gastrodermis, and from there, diffuse through the mesoglea to the rest of the body.
It is a stomach that also acts as a heart, circulating food through its own motion. The life of a jellyfish is a story of transformation, a complex cycle that is far stranger than our own. The familiar, bell-shaped creature we see drifting is called the medusa. This is the adult, sexual stage of its life. To reproduce, most jellyfish release their sperm and eggs into the open water in a synchronized, ghostly ballet. When a sperm fertilizes an egg, a new life begins, but it does not start as a tiny jellyfish. It starts as something else entirely. The fertilized egg develops into a tiny, free-swimming, oval-shaped creature called a planular larva. This little organism is covered in tiny, beating hairs or cilia, which it uses to propel itself through the water. The planular larva is a traveler. Its mission is not to eat, but to find a safe, hard surface on which to settle. It drifts on the currents for days or weeks, a microscopic explorer searching for a permanent home, perhaps a dark rock, an oyster shell, or the underside of a pier. When the planular larva finds its suitable home, it attaches itself, head down, and undergoes a profound metamorphosis. It transforms into the second stage of its life, the polyp. A jellyfish polyp looks almost nothing like its adult form. It looks, for all the world, like a miniature, stem-like sea anemone. It is a tiny, rooted stalk with a mouth at the top, fringed by a small crown of tentacles. This polyp is a fixed, non-moving creature that spends its life catching any tiny plankton that drifts within its reach. This polyp stage is the jellyfish's second life. It can live in this rooted, anemone-like form for months or even years, patiently waiting for the right conditions. The polyp is a master of asexual reproduction. It can bud off new polyps from its side, creating a small, identical colony, a carpet of tiny feeding stalks, all from a single, original larva. This stage of its life is all about patience, cloning, and waiting for the perfect moment to be born again. When the water conditions are just right, perhaps a change in temperature or a sudden abundance of food, the polyp receives its cue to transform. It begins a strange and wonderful process called strobilation. The polyp's body begins to develop a series of horizontal grooves, which deepen and deepen until the polyp itself looks like a stack of tiny, living plates, one on top of the other, like a wiggling tower of dinner plates. This is the jellyfish's asexual cloning phase. One by one, from the top of the stack downwards, these tiny plates break free from the polyp. Each one that is released is a tiny baby jellyfish known as an ephyra. A single polyp can release dozens of these ephyrae over several days. This release is a beautiful silent explosion of new life, a single rooted creature giving birth to a whole smack of tiny drifting clones. The newly released ephyra is a ghostly, beautiful creature. It is often no larger than a snowflake, almost perfectly transparent, with a complex star-like or geometric shape. It does not yet look like the adult medusa. It is a delicate, angular drifter, pulsing its tiny, undeveloped bell lobes to stay afloat. Its first mission is simply to eat and grow, feeding on the smallest of plankton as it drifts in the current, slowly maturing into the bell-shaped medusa form we all recognize. This complex life cycle, alternating between a free-swimming sexual medusa and a bottom-dwelling asexual polyp, is a brilliant evolutionary strategy. The medusa stage is for spreading genes far and wide, releasing sperm and eggs across vast oceans. The polyp stage is for survival and patience, a way to hibernate through difficult seasons or food shortages, and then to bloom by cloning itself into a massive swarm when conditions are good. The jellyfish has, in essence, two different ways to be born. Not all jellyfish follow this exact two-stage blueprint.
Some species have skipped a stage. Some deep-sea jellyfish, for example, have eliminated the polyp stage entirely. Their fertilized eggs develop directly into medusae, a more direct path suited for the stable, unchanging environment of the abyss. Other jellyfish, known as hydrozoans, may live most of their lives as a colony of polyps, releasing only tiny, short-lived medusae, whose only purpose is to reproduce and die. The medusa, the floating bell, is the final and most familiar stage. This is the jellyfish's adult form, and for most, it is the end of the line. After a life of drifting, feeding, and reproducing, the medusa's body will begin to break down. It will stop pulsing, its bell will tear, and its body will slowly dissolve back into the seawater from which it was made. Its component parts are recycled, its nutrients return to the ocean's planktonic soup. A quiet, gentle end to a quiet, gentle life for all but one. There is one creature in the ocean that holds a secret that seems to defy the very definition of life and death. It is a tiny, unassuming hydrozoan known as Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. This jellyfish, no larger than a fingernail, has been found to be, in essence, biologically immortal. It has a rewind button on its life, a way to cheat death not just once, but potentially forever. The secret of the immortal jellyfish is not that it cannot be killed. It is easily eaten by predators or destroyed by disease, just like any other animal. Its secret is that when it is old, or sick, or physically damaged, or even starving, it can do something unique. It can stop and reverse its own life cycle. The adult, bell-shaped medusa can literally revert back to its juvenile polyp stage, starting its life all over again. This process is known to science as transdifferentiation. This is a biological miracle, a form of cellular alchemy. In most animals, a cell is specialized. A muscle cell is a muscle cell, and a nerve cell is a nerve cell, and their fate is sealed. In Turritopsis dohrnii, an adult specialized cell from the bell or the circulatory system can forget its job. It can revert to a stem cell state and then choose a new job, becoming a new type of cell, part of a new organism. When the immortal jellyfish begins this process, it is a dramatic transformation. The adult medusa's body sinks to the seafloor. Its bell and tentacles begin to deteriorate and are absorbed, melting, or folding in on themselves. It is a process that looks like death. But from this dying mass of cells, a new structure begins to grow, a tiny stalk, or stolon, which then forms into a new, young polyp. The adult has not died. It has become a baby again. This new polyp, which is genetically identical to the dead adult, then grows and buds, just like any normal polyp. And when conditions are right, it will strobilate, releasing a new generation of Ephirae. One of these tiny, free-swimming jellyfish will be the reborn original. This new medusa will grow up, live its life, and, if it is ever faced with death by old age or stress, it can sink down and repeat the entire process over and over again. Theoretically, this cycle can go on indefinitely. The discovery of transdifferentiation in Turritopsis dohrnii has profound implications for human medicine. Scientists are now studying the genes and the molecular switches that allow this tiny creature to reprogram its own cells. The dream is that if we can understand this mechanism, we might one day be able to use the same principles to tell our own cells to regenerate damaged or dead tissue, to heal hearts, nerves, or other organs that our bodies cannot normally repair. This tiny, immortal drifter may hold the key to a new era of regenerative medicine. Because of this unique ability, the immortal jellyfish has been quietly spreading around the globe. It is believed to have originated in the Mediterranean, but has since been found in oceans everywhere. Scientists suspect it has been hitching a ride,
in the ballast water of large cargo ships. A ship takes in water in one port, which may contain the tiny Turritopsis medusae. During the long, stressful journey, the jellies revert to their polyp stage, attaching to the inside of the ballast tanks. When the ship arrives in a new port and releases its water, it releases a new, thriving colony of polyps, which then seed the new harbor with immortal jellyfish. Setting: the immortality of Turritopsis dohrani is a lonely one, while the individual is, in a sense, immortal. It does not remember its past lives. Its nerve net and sensory organs are absorbed and reformed. Each rebirth is a complete reset. There is no continuous consciousness, no memory of its past adventures as a Medusa. It is simply a biological cycle, a genetic loop, a perfect, mindless process of renewal. It is not an immortal mind, but an immortal lineage, contained within a single, tiny, endlessly recycling body. Now, let us drift through a living gallery and meet some of the most famous and fascinating members of the jellyfish family. We begin with the giant of the north, the lion's mane jellyfish, or Cyanea capillata. This is the largest known jellyfish species in the world. It is a creature of the cold, northern waters of the Atlantic and Pacific, a magnificent, slow, pulsing giant. Its bell can grow to be over 6 feet across, but its true majesty lies in its tentacles. The tentacles of the lion's mane are a shimmering, shaggy, and impossibly long cascade, giving the creature its name. They are divided into 8 distinct clusters, and a large specimen can have over 1,000 of them. The largest lion's mane ever recorded washed ashore in Massachusetts in 1870. Its bell was over 7 feet wide, and its longest tentacles were measured at an astonishing 120 feet long. This is longer than a blue whale, the largest animal on Earth. It is a creature of truly colossal and terrifying proportions. The sting of the lion's mane is potent and painful, capable of causing severe welts and cramps, though it is rarely fatal to humans. The sheer number of its tentacles, however, makes it a formidable predator. It drifts with this massive, sticky net spread wide, capturing any small fish, crustaceans, or other jellyfish that blunder into its path. Its sting is so effective that it even features in a Sherlock Holmes story, The Adventure of the Lion's Mane, as a silent, mysterious killer in a coastal pool. Despite its powerful sting, the lion's mane is not always a solitary hunter. Its massive, curtain-like tentacles and the folds of its oral arms provide a safe, floating fortress for other, smaller creatures. Certain species of small fish, and even shrimp, have evolved a symbiotic relationship with the giant. They are immune to its venom, and they live, feed, and hide within the deadly, protective forest of its tentacles, safe from larger predators, a tiny, living oasis in the center of a floating web of venom. From the giant, we move to the most common and familiar jellyfish, the moon jelly, Aurelia aurita. If you have ever seen a jellyfish pulsing in an aquarium, it was likely this one. They are found all over the world, in coastal waters, and are recognized by their gentle, translucent, saucer-shaped bell. Their most defining feature is the 4 pale, horseshoe-shaped or circular patterns visible through the top of their dome. These are not decorations, but their gonads, or reproductive organs. The moon jelly is the gentle standard of the jellyfish world. Its sting is incredibly mild, often undetectable by human skin. This is because its venom is designed for its prey, which is not fish, but the tiniest of plankton. Its bell is fringed with a halo of very fine, short tentacles that catch this planktonic soup. The food is then passed to its four frilly oral arms, which slowly move it to the central mouth. They are delicate, hypnotic, and almost entirely harmless to us. The life of a moon jelly is often short, a creature of the seasons. The Medusa stage typically lives for only 6 months, just long enough to grow, reproduce, and then die as the water cools in the autumn. But its lineage lives on in the polyp stage, which can survive the cold winter on the seafloor. When the spring comes and the water warms, these polyps will strobilate, releasing a new, massive bloom of ephyrae, and the entire gentle cycle begins once more. Now, we must travel to the warm, coastal waters of Australia and Southeast Asia to meet a creature that is not a drifter, but a hunter. This is the box jellyfish, Chironex fleckeri, also known as the sea wasp. It is not a true jellyfish of the class Scyphozoa, but a cubozoan, named for its distinct, cube-shaped or box-like bell. It is a pale, almost transparent blue, making it nearly invisible in the water, and it is, by most measures, the most venomous marine creature in the world. Unlike other jellies that drift, the box jellyfish is a powerful and agile swimmer, capable of moving at speeds of up to 4 knots, or nearly 5 miles per hour. It does not wait for prey to come to it. It actively hunts, patrolling shallow, inshore waters for the shrimp and small fish that make up its diet. From each of the 4 corners of its bell, it trails up to 15 long, ribbon-like tentacles, which can stretch up to 10 feet long. These tentacles are armed with millions of nematocysts. The venom of the box jellyfish is terrifyingly potent. It is a complex cocktail of toxins that attacks the heart, the nervous system, and the skin all at once. A significant sting from Chironex fleckeri can be fatal to an adult human in as little as 3 or 4 minutes, causing cardiac arrest long before a victim can even get back to shore. It is thought to have evolved such a powerful venom because its prey, fast-moving fish and shrimp, would struggle and damage its delicate tentacles, if not killed instantly. The box jellyfish's life cycle is also unique. After the adult medusae spawn in river estuaries, the planula larva settles and becomes a polyp. This polyp, however, does not strobilate into a stack of tiny ephyrae. Instead, the entire polyp undergoes a complete metamorphosis, transforming itself, in its entirety, into a single, juvenile box jellyfish, which then detaches and swims away. It is a one-to-one transformation, a whole-body rebirth. The reason the box jellyfish is such an effective hunter is because, unlike nearly all other jellies it can see, it does not just have simple light sensing or ocelli. A box jelly possesses an astonishing 24 eyes, grouped into 4 sensory clusters called rhopalia, one on each side of its bell. These eyes are not all the same. They are of 4 different types, each with a different job. Most of these eyes are simple pit and slit eyes, likely used for sensing light and shadow, but 2 in each cluster, the upper lens eye and lower lens eye, are true, sophisticated camera-type eyes. They have a lens, a cornea, and a retina, much like a fish or a human. Scientists have shown that box jellies use these complex eyes to see images, to avoid obstacles as they swim through mangrove roots, and to actively track and pursue their prey. This is a level of sensory sophistication that is terrifyingly advanced for a creature with no centralized brain. We now turn to a relative of the box jelly, a creature so small it is almost mythical. This is the Irukandji jellyfish. The name does not refer to a single species, but a group of tiny, potent box jellies, the most famous of which, Carukia barnesi, is no larger than a sugar cube, with a bell just 2 centimeters across. They are found in the waters of northern Australia, and their size makes them ghostly invisible threats, small enough to pass right through the protective nets that keep larger box jellies away from beaches. The sting of an irukandji is often initially mild, a faint, mosquito bite-like pain that wanes within 30 minutes. But then, about half an hour later, the victim begins to experience the horrifying systemic effects of irukandji syndrome. This is a hyperadrenergic state, a massive catecholamine surge, causing severe, diffuse muscle cramping, excruciating pain in the back and abdomen, nausea, vomiting, hypertension, and, perhaps most strangely, a profound psychological feeling of impending doom. Though rarely fatal, the syndrome is a medical ordeal, a powerful example of how much danger can be packed into such a tiny, translucent form. Finally, we meet the beautiful imposters of the jellyfish world, the comb jellies, or phylum Catenophora. These creatures look and feel like jellyfish. They are gelatinous, translucent, and they drift, but they are on a completely different branch of the evolutionary tree. In fact, some scientists now believe ctenophores, not sponges or jellyfish, may be the oldest animal lineage on Earth. And most importantly, they do not sting. Instead of nematocysts, comb jellies hunt using sticky cells called coloblasts, which are like microscopic lassos that glue their prey to their tentacles. But their most magical feature is their light. They have 8 combs, which are rows of beating cilia, tiny hairs, that run down their bodies. They use these to swim. As these rows of cilia beat, they refract light, scattering it into a shimmering, flickering rainbow that dances along the creature's body. This is not bioluminescence, but diffraction. It is a cold, silent light show, a living prism drifting through the dark. In the deep, dark parts of the ocean, where sunlight has never reached, many jellyfish have learned to create their own light. This is bioluminescence, a cold fire produced by a chemical reaction inside the creature's body. It is a living light, a glow that comes from within. It is different from fluorescence, which is a borrowed light. A fluorescent creature will absorb light of one color, like blue, and then re-emit it as a different, glowing color, like green. But it cannot glow on its own in total darkness. Bioluminescence is making light. Fluorescence is transforming it. The why of this living light is a beautiful, dark mystery. For a jellyfish, a creature with no eyes to see its own glow, this light is not for beauty, but for survival. Some deep-sea jellies use their light to lure prey, a glowing, fatal attraction in the dark. Others use it for defense. A bright flash can startle a predator, giving the jellyfish a moment to escape. It is a language of light, spoken in the silent black depths of the abyss. One of the most famous examples of this light is the burglar alarm hypothesis. Many jellyfish, when caught or bitten by a predator, will scream with a massive burst of bioluminescence. This light does not help the jellyfish against the predator that has it. Instead, it lights up the attacker, like a burglar caught in a spotlight. This screaming light attracts a bigger, secondary predator, like a squid or a large fish, which then comes in to attack the first predator. In the ensuing chaos, the jellyfish may be released, its life saved by its dying scream of light. The discovery of light in jellyfish has had a Nobel Prize-winning impact on human science. In the 1960s, scientists studying the crystal jelly, Equorea victoria, found the 2 proteins responsible for its glow. One protein, equorin, produces blue light when it binds with calcium. This blue light is then absorbed by a second protein, which transforms it and emits the bright green glow we see. This second protein was named simply green fluorescent protein, or GFP. Scientists, including Osamu Shimomura, Martin Chalfie, and Roger Tsien, realized the genius of GFP. They learned how to isolate the gene for GFP and attach it to other genes inside living cells. This turned GFP into a marker protein, a biological highlighter. A scientist could tag a cancer cell with GFP and watch it spread in real time. They could tag a specific protein and watch it move inside a brain cell. This tiny light from a humble jellyfish has illuminated the hidden inner workings of life, revolutionizing medicine and biology. Some jellyfish are masters of fluorescence, the art of borrowed light. They have proteins in their skin that absorb the high-energy blue light that penetrates deep into the ocean and re-emit it as lower-energy green, yellow, or red light. This may be a form of sunscreen, protecting the jellyfish's simple tissues from damaging light, or it may be a form of camouflage, changing their visual signature to match the ambient, filtered light of their specific depth, helping them vanish from the eyes of predators. The light of some comb jellies is weaponized in a different way. While their sticky cells themselves are not the source of the light, some species possess bioluminescent tentacles. When a prey item, like a copepod, is captured by the sticky colloblasts, the tentacle can produce a bright flash of light. It's believed this flash acts to startle or blind the prey, momentarily stopping its struggles and allowing the comb jelly to secure its meal more easily. The light of a jellyfish is a ghostly, ethereal presence. In the deep sea, a bioluminescent jelly is not a bright, sharp light. It is a diffuse, otherworldly glow, a faint, pulsing shape in the endless dark. It appears from nowhere, shines with a cold, living fire, and fades back into the blackness. It is a fleeting reminder that even in the most oppressive darkness, life finds a way to make its own soft, quiet light. In recent decades, the world's oceans have begun to see a dramatic increase in jellyfish blooms. These massive congregations of millions of jellies are becoming more frequent, larger, and lasting longer. These blooms are a sign that the ocean's ecosystem is under stress and out of balance. The jellyfish, with their ancient, resilient biology, are thriving in conditions that harm other marine life. There are several human factors that are believed to cause these blooms. Warming sea temperatures from climate change accelerate the jellyfish life cycle, allowing them to reproduce faster. Nutrient pollution, or eutrophication, from agricultural runoff causes planktonic algae to boom, providing a massive food source for both the jellyfish and the zooplankton they eat. This also creates low oxygen dead zones, where jellyfish, with their low metabolic needs, can survive far better than fish, their main competitors. Overfishing is another major driver of jellyfish blooms. By removing vast quantities of fish like sardines and herring, we are eliminating the main competitors that eat the same planktonic food. We are also removing many of the predators that would normally eat the jellyfish. We have, in effect, rolled out a red carpet, creating a perfect empty niche for the jellyfish to take over. These massive blooms can have a serious negative impact on both the ecosystem and human industry. A giant smack of jellies can drift into a bay and wipe out a fish farm, stinging and killing all the penned fish. They are also a major problem for power plants and desalination plants, which draw in huge amounts of seawater. A jellyfish bloom can clog these intake pipes, forcing entire plants to shut down. Ecologically, jellyfish blooms create a problem that scientists call the jelly carbon shunt. Normally, plankton is eaten by fish, which are eaten by bigger fish, and energy moves up the food chain. When jellyfish take over, they eat the plankton, but very few things eat the jellyfish. When the jellyfish die, they shed enormous amounts of carbon-rich mucus, or jelly dom. This slime is eaten by bacteria, which respire and release that carbon back into the atmosphere as CO2. The energy is shunted away from the fish and into microbes, effectively leaking energy out of the marine food web. While few animals target jellyfish, they are not invincible. They do have a few highly specialized predators. The most famous is the giant leatherback sea turtle. This enormous reptile subsists almost entirely on a diet of jellyfish. To handle such a slippery, venomous meal, the leatherback's entire throat and esophagus are lined with backward-facing spiny protrusions called papillae. These spines prevent the jelly from escaping as the turtle expels the excess seawater. Another key predator is one of the strangest fish in the sea, the ocean sunfish, or mola mola. This is the world's heaviest bony fish, a giant, circular, flattened creature that looks like a swimming head with two giant fins. For a long time, it was thought that sunfish were lazy, basking at the surface, but tracking has shown they are active deep divers, traveling hundreds of feet down to feast on jellyfish and other gelatinous prey. Jellyfish also eat other jellyfish. Many of the larger, more potent species, like the lion's mane and the box jelly, are not picky eaters. They will readily capture and consume smaller jellyfish, including moon jellies or even members of their own species, that drift into their tentacles. In the gelatinous world of the drifters, it is a slow-motion, cannibalistic existence. The rise of the jellyfish is a quiet warning to us. They are the ultimate survivors. They are resilient to warming waters, low oxygen, and acidification. They are ancient, simple, and effective. As we change the oceans, we are inadvertently creating a world that is less hospitable to the complex life we depend on, like fish and coral, and more hospitable to these simple, gelatinous drifters. The future ocean may be the age of jellyfish. For anyone who has spent time at the beach, the jellyfish sting is a familiar fear, and it is one surrounded by myths. The most famous myth, popularized by television, is that you should urinate on a sting. This is not only ineffective, but can be actively harmful. Urine is not always acidic enough, and the fresh water in it can change the osmotic pressure around any unfired nematocysts still on the skin, causing them to discharge and make the sting far worse. The correct first aid for a jellyfish sting depends on the species, but some general rules apply. First, get out of the water. Second, rinse the area with copious amounts of salt water, not fresh water, to wash away tentacles. Third, carefully remove any visible tentacles with a tweezer or a gloved hand. For many stings, applying vinegar can deactivate the nematocysts. For others, like the irukandji, vinegar is essential. Finally, immersing the area in hot water, as hot as can be tolerated without burning, has been shown to be highly effective at breaking down the toxins and relieving the pain. While many of us view jellyfish as a danger or a pest, in many parts of the world, they are a prized source of food. Edible jellyfish have been harvested and consumed in East and Southeast Asia for over 1,700 years. Species like the cannonball jelly and the ropalema jelly are harvested in large numbers. They are not eaten raw, but are processed in a traditional, multi-day method of curing with salt and alum. This curing process removes the water and the sliminess, transforming the jellyfish into a dried, crisp product. This final product is low in calories and fat and has almost no flavor of its own. It is prized entirely for its texture, a wonderful, crunchy, or chewy mouthfeel that it adds to salads, sushi, and other dishes. It is a food of texture, not taste. Jellyfish are also a growing source of biomedical compounds. We have already discussed the Nobel Prize-winning GFP, but scientists are also studying their collagen. Jellyfish collagen is simple and safe, and is being researched for use in human medicine as a scaffolding for tissue regeneration, for wound dressings, and even in cosmetics. The venom itself is also being studied, as its potent neurotoxins can be used as tools to understand how our own nerve cells fire and communicate. In recent years, jellyfish have become the hypnotic stars of public aquariums around the world. Watching them pulse silently in a blue illuminated tank is a deeply calming, meditative experience. But keeping these fragile creatures is an engineering challenge. A normal rectangular tank would be a death trap. The jellyfish would be sucked into the filtration intakes or get stuck in the corners. To solve this, aquariums use special circular tanks called Kreisel tanks, from the German word for spinning top. These tanks have no corners, and the water is flowed in a gentle, circular current. This current keeps the delicate jellyfish suspended in the middle of the water column, preventing them from touching the sides or settling on the bottom. It is an artificial, gentle whirlpool that simulates their natural, drifting world. The jellyfish is a true paradox of the ocean. It is ancient, yet it is the face of our future seas. It is mindlessly simple, yet its biology is so complex, it yields Nobel Prize-winning discoveries. It is fragile enough to be made of 98% water, yet it is armed with one of the fastest and deadliest weapons on Earth. It is a silent drifter, a ghostly light in the dark, and a living reminder that life does not need complexity to be profoundly successful. It is, perhaps, the ocean's dream of itself. If you enjoy these quiet journeys into the deep, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is relax. Let your mind soften and your breathing slow, and allow yourself to float gently into rest, drifting on the dark, quiet currents of the world. Good night.